Here's a sack of potatoes. It's not only the main ingredient of the day, but also the inspiration upon which all of my high school nicknames drew upon. We'll explore viral potato recipes divided into 3 categories: baked, pan-seared, and deep fried. Let's get started. You know, now that I think about it, I've never peeled a potato without some sort of deformity. Like, what is this? It looks like an apple. Feels kind of granular on the inside, and here's like a crack on this one. But anyways, we'll cut a few into large chunks, put them into cold water with a little salt. You see, most people just put a lid on and boil till fork tender, but I take it one step further on this channel. I boil till ligma fork tender. We'll season it real quick before mashing, and this will be used for the next 2 recipes. We'll move half of it to another bowl and add in 2 egg yolks. This is pretty much it before baking, but I'm gonna take it above and beyond as usual and add some European MSG. About 2 ounces of Pecorino Romano. Mix everything together. We're gonna pipe it into these ice cream shape. I don't have a piping bag, so we're using Ziploc. You know, without a star tip, the shape didn't come out as desirable as I wanted them to be, but I'm counting on you guys' manners to keep the comment section sanitary. We'll put it in the oven at 375 for 8 minutes. Same setting for air fryer, I think. Didn't look any better. This is a classic French dish. It is a little strange. I'm not sure, but I assume this is like a hack for using leftover mashed potatoes. But mashed potatoes is pretty easy to reheat, you know. But anyways, let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. It's a lot fluffier. It kind of tastes like my pillow, without all the grease and the hair follicles, of course. It has a lot more structure and body than mashed potatoes, but ultimately there's no difference, so I'll give it an 8. This recipe must have some algorithm magic, because every time somebody posts it, it goes immediately viral. Starting with 6 tablespoons of milk, I'm out of that, so I'm doing 3 tablespoons of water and 3 heavy cream. A little bit of salt, a cup of flour, and start mixing till it becomes shaggy like that. Now we're going with our hand till it comes together, and finally 2 tablespoons of butter. This is the most annoying part. You gotta keep rubbing it till all the butter is absorbed. I might just go rub it on the couch. When it's smooth and oily like that, we'll fold it a couple times, cover it, and let it rest in room temp for 30 minutes. Take it out of the bowl, fold it towards itself till the surface is really smooth. Then we'll just roll it out as thinly as we can. Obviously, the thinner, the better the experience, and if it rips, I guess we'll just risk it. And judging by the amount of cheese I'm laying on top of this dough, you might think we're making a pizza. But we're actually making a giant cheese potato dumpling, or a full-sized pierogi if you may. The beginning of the wrapping process seemed pretty smooth as I'm layering in all the edges, but towards the end it's coming up a little short. But no need to worry, we'll do some stitching, pinching, and squeezing, and also the most important part of dealing with a problem is hiding it underneath. We'll give it another roll out, and the dough should be elastic enough to conceal itself.
What the hell is even that?
I didn't expect this episode to include a segment of pimple popping, but here's what happened. Once both sides are cooked evenly and the cheese melted, we can take it out and just look how beautiful this side is. Can't believe we're getting a cheese pull going on here. The outside layer is crispy and thin and is filled with potato and a thick layer of cheese. This turned out so much better than I expected, except for this one. The potatoes fluffy at the same time creamy, and the flavor of the cheese complemented really well. Overall, it's extremely comforting, but the flavor profile I think is a little too mellow. It needs like a acidic marinara sauce or some hot sauce. Still, it tastes really good though. It already has a high score of 9 out of 10. Entering the pan fry category, our first recipe is an eggless hash brown. Well, it's not technically electrically powered, so it doesn't qualify as a machine. It's just another way of hand slicing. Then we'll soak it in cold water to wash it a little bit to get rid of the natural starch. Season with white pepper and premium salt. And since we took away the potato starch, we gotta add back in, but with corn. This step confuses me too, but I'm just following the recipe here. Seems like an unnecessary move, as I said it before. It's just like how I take my pants off to fart. About 3 minutes on medium-high each side till it's golden brown. That was surprisingly easy to make. It looks pretty good too. Growing up, I never really had a lot of hash brown, because why have breakfast with your family when you can sleep for extra 15 minutes? But I know for a fact that this one is very different from the usual hash browns that people eat. Because there's no eggs or flour, there's no mushing going on. Every single potato strip has its texture intact. The outside gets really crispy and the inside kind of tastes like 100 different french fries compiled together. 9 out of 10. Highly recommend. Now entering the deep fried category, all of which is gonna involve mashed potatoes to start. I'll just make a big batch of it so I don't need to show this process again. Do you guys think my apron's clean? You can get yours at my merch shop in the description. Is my shirt inside out? To 160 grams of potatoes, we'll add 15 grams of sugar. I do find it a little weird. Shouldn't it be salt? Let's just add a little bit then. 35 grams of cornstarch. I think a tiny amount of baking powder can make it puff up a little bit. Mix it together and just roll into small spheres. Once again, it's still forbidden to comment on the handling skills. The balls are going to slowly float up. You can take them out once they're brown and the bubbles reduce significantly. Seems like they puffed up a bit, the baking soda worked, and the deep frying created this outer layer that's pretty crispy. Reminds me a lot of the first recipe we did, the Duchess potato. Also pretty similar to pakoras too. Overall, I find it kind of bland, but judging by how easy it is to make, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So this is supposed to be a cheesy potato onion ring, but I forgot to get onions, so we'll deal with that later. To 200 grams of potatoes, we'll add a tablespoon and a half of potato starch. Salt, pepper, you know the drill. Now we'll take a tube of string cheese and cut it in half. You see how in the video they stabilize it inside of an onion and cover the outside with potatoes. The cheese is too soft to hold its shape, so we're gonna have to improvise. I'm taking 2 pieces of toothpick and we'll just pin the 2 ends together to form a ring. You see how it's a perfect circle? The situation is turning up already. And I know at this point all of you have the urge to call me a genius, but let's hold it back a little bit. We'll finish the cooking process and check out the result. We'll just shape the mash around the cheese and put it through a standard breading process. I guess not too standard because I'm using cornstarch, and the dropping egg hack I saw on TikTok is supposed to perfectly crack it. And finally, breadcrumbs. I guess the best part about frying these potato recipes is that when they're done, they just float up by themselves. This one's got a pimple on it. So far, they're holding its shape pretty well. I already can feel it. This is gonna be the cheese pull of the week. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 to 10. It's kind of starting to taste similar to everything we just made. I wish I had the onion in there to change up the flavor profile a little bit. 6 out of 10. Next, we're keeping it kosher with our beef franks. The meat stick is strong enough, but my wood is lacking strength. It wouldn't be able to support the girth of franks, so I'm gonna have to use these takeout chopsticks that Uber Eats gave me. It even has their logo on it. It's pretty cool. It's too long to put in the pan, so I'm gonna have to chop it a little bit. Didn't expect to do woodwork while making a potato video. I also sharpened it a little bit with my pencil sharpener. Now it's the stabbing part. We're gonna cut the beef franks and the string cheese into halves. Have the cheese on top and the dog on the bottom where it belongs. As I'm putting the chopstick into the frank, I kind of felt some sympathy pain for some reason. It kind of reminds me of that scene from Friends where Joey gets a kidney stone.
Which means we can either wait for you to pass them or else go up the urethra.
But anyways, I also did some skewer ones, just in case the chopstick ones completely split open. Now just flatten out some mashed potatoes, which I season with salt and pepper, and just wrap it up and shape into a corn dog. To make the surface more flat, you can roll it a few times on the surface. Now again is the breading process. I should have kept the stuff from the last recipe. Now I'm just wasting food. Everything inside is already cooked, so we're just trying to melt the cheese at this point. It's gonna be done maybe about 4 minutes or so. Just because it's made of potatoes doesn't mean we can treat it differently than other corn dogs. We'll top it off with ketchup, mustard, and finally some chives. Look at this. Don't they look straight out of a restaurant? I mean more like straight out of a food cart on the side of the street. And look, another cheese pull. Getting excited, let's give it a taste. That donut thing, I wasn't sure, but this is definitely better than a normal corn dog. First, the potato is so much more tender than a flour-based mixture. Second, I feel like the mashed potato made it less greasy while being creamy on its own. It is almost a perfect canvas for the cheese, franks, and a variety of sauces. This is probably the best potato recipe we've done on this channel, so I'm gonna give it a high score of 9.85. Actually 9.9, sorry. Our last recipe is the cheese potato mochi thing from Demon Slayer. I can't seem to find the mochi flour, so I'm using potato starch again. This is technically a pan fried recipe, but I got lazy and just deep fried it. First, we're gonna cut 2 slices of monster cheese. It's for the stuffing. And then we'll lay out a piece of mashed potato, press it out into a circle, lay the cheese in, and then enclose it with another piece of wrapper. The recipe requires it to be a square, but I guess you can do any shape you want. After enclosing it, we'll just press the edges against the counter and let gravity shape it into a square for us. So as I said it before, we're supposed to fry it in a saute pan with a decent amount of oil, so only the 2 sides will be golden brown and the middle is still kind of like soft, but I feel like it doesn't really matter. We're just trying to melt the cheese at this point. The end product isn't going to be crispy regardless. You'll see what I mean in a sec. In a separate saute pan, we're going to combine mirin, sugar, sake, and soy sauce. I'm too lazy to do that, so I'm just going to use this Costco sauce. When it's simmering, we'll put back all the fried up mochi and let it absorb all the flavor. This is why I think it doesn't really matter you pan fry or deep fry, because it's all going to be covered up with this sauce anyways. For the final decoration, we'll take out some sheets of nori and cut it into squares, and just put it on top. Here it is, the potato cheese mochi. This is my first time having mochi with a savory sauce. Let's give it a try. I think because the frying is solidified the structure, it kept its shape, and also added an additional layer of texture. The fried up part of mochi absorbed all the sauces, making it extremely flavorful. The chewy mochi and the soft cheese combined with the sweet and savory notes from the sauce, making it very addicting. Overall, I'll give it a 9.1 out of 10. We made a lot of good recipes today. But anyways, I'm still in the south right now. These footage were from before the trip. I'm super excited to be in Texas, eat some barbecue, and I heard of this thing called Blue Bell ice cream. Supposedly is the best ice cream in America. If insulin wasn't such a big deal, I would drink ice cream as water. Thank you for all the suggestions recently. I'll get to them soon. Alright, thank you.